please give floor for Robin Marsh, Secretary General of PPM, who will
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Margaret. Margaret, I think, represents the heart of the Armenian, particularly the Armenian suffering, and has done many things. Also, I think, to make a reconciliation with Turkish people in times, particularly on the individual level. I think that there are many efforts that we can do on the individual level, which contribute in the long run, but there has to be an official recognition, and that many times is a difficult thing, because it's a mission of guilt, and human nature is not to want to own up to guilt. But without the owning up to guilt, there is no the dynamic of forgiveness and reconciliation on a deeper level that can really heal our world. So I would like to call on Sheikh Dr. Sheikh Ramzy. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina mursaleen. Amma ba'd. My dear friends, brothers and sisters, I greet you with Islamic greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May peace and blessing of Almighty God be upon you all. Today we are talking about the most saddest things, most evil things, genocide and Holocaust. I have some slides which you can see. Some of them are disturbing, but of course, how it goes, what do you expect of genocide, killings, mass murder. I read while I'm telling of Naomi. When I bring my hand up, we can change the slide. Thank you. Dear friends, without a doubt, the human world is in turmoil. Disasters, disease, and destruction cover the planet. Besides these, humans are killing each other on a massive scale, simply for being wrong color, wrong nationality, or ideology, and for reason of power, greed, and wealth. Torture, rape, ethnic cleansing, and genocide have become instrument of victory. The hypothesis seems to be that if you kill one, you are a murderer. If you kill a million, you are a conqueror. My brothers and sisters, neighbors, communities, and nations go to war with each other over a simple argument. The stronger group causes so much destruction upon the weaker by any means to wipe him out of the surface of the earth. My brothers and sisters, biggest of these atrocities was the Holocaust, during which millions of innocent people were tortured, raped, murdered, starved, and burned alive because of their faith, because they were Jewish. My dear friends, we thought we had learned from the Holocaust. We promised nothing like that would happen again. That humanity would never again degrade and go so low. That no genocide or ethnic cleansing would ever happen again. And yet, it has happened multiple times since the Second World War. Humanity forgot his promise. Dear friends, one instance of this war is Yugoslavia. The communists fall, the country divided, and the ethnic cleansing of Bosnia by Serbian wish to have lived together for a generation and generation in peace started. My friends, in 1992, the Serbian army decided to wipe out the Muslim Bosniak population. They attacked Sarajevo, the capital, capturing thousands upon thousands of Bosniak, many of whom are driven to concentration camps where men and women and children raped, tortured, and killed. As you can see it here, this is the Holocaust, and this is the genocide in Bosnia. It's all the same. You can see it's repeating again. The Serbian army used gang rape as a weapon of war to crush moral of Bosniak Muslims. Ethnic cleansing began. As a result, a year later, the United Nations Security Council declared Sarajevo, Srebrenica, a safe area protected by UN peacekeepers. My brothers and sisters, 2 years later, the Serbs committed the largest genocide in Europe since the Holocaust. Respected friend, in Srebrenica alone, around 25,000 Muslim women and men, children, old, were put on buses and take them to the Muslim territories. What a tragedy here. Genocide here. 8,000 men of fighting age were slaughtered, murdered in one day. United Nations. Of course, you can see that two evil people, which of course they were responsible for the genocide. But dear friend, United Nations, which has to protect it, did nothing. Not even one bullet went shot. Not single bullet. What they said, okay, we can get him later. Let them kill him after that we get him as a criminal. Where are they? Our brothers and sisters, unfortunately, we haven't learned yet how to deal with such a genocides. Official organizations declared 8 symptoms for recognizing the start of a genocide. But still we are reluctant. Still we are reluctant to act when we see these symptoms until it's too late. Am I right? Am I right? Yes. These symptoms code. I tell you one by one. Classification, symbolization, dehumanization, organization, polarization, preparation, extermination, and denial. Brothers and sisters, as we speak, as I'm speaking and we speak, these signs have all been seen in some part of the world, especially in Rohingya, Myanmar, Burma. Brothers and sisters, 1.3 million of Rohingya people in Burma have been denied simple and basic human right. The government of Burma has started to mass murder these people. The president of Burma, genocide, you can see the Holocaust and you can see the Burma. Both the same, exactly the same. The government of Burma has started to mass murder these people, you can see. The president of Burma is denying that the Rohingya even exists. The Rohingya have been tortured, gang raped, put in concentration camps, surrounded by barbed wire, driven to sea in the hundreds of thousands. They have been murdered, massacred, denied their basic right. This is all because they are Muslim for their faith. Over 100,000 of the Rohingya have fled the countries for the fear of rape, torture, and genocide. Imagine when they gang raped your wife, your daughter, in front of your face. As you can see here, they are in the ship, underneath thousands and thousands, like a cattle, worse than a cattle. And you can see the shipwreck. Many, many, many died in this one. You can Google it, you can see. Many died. 140,000. 140,000 have been put in a concentration camps, deprived of food, medicine, clothing, and shelter. Unhuman. Human has one race. Some fortunate, some unfortunate. Why are we doing this to ourselves? We have to think. My friends, Buddhists, often known as to be amongst the most peaceful people in the world, have turned on their fellow Muslim citizens in violence and hatred, to be extended that they are hacking them to pieces. You can see? Their houses has been burned. Gang raped. Gang rape is being used as a weapon of to demoralize the people in the camp. They have been denied the right of the land which they born in. It is said the Rohingya people are currently the most persecuted and tortured people in the world. This is the president. They're taking him from America, they're taking him to court for the genocide. My brothers and sisters, Human Rights Watch clearly identifies that Burma's government as a complicit in the abuse against the Rohingya, calling it a government-backed campaign of ethnic cleansing. Genocide Watch is an organization who provides the list of the 8 stages of genocide. Recently issued a genocide emergency alert for Myanmar. My brothers and sisters, we cannot let this happen again. I urge you, my brothers and sisters and friends, to help to investigate this situation before it's too late, before it's too late. It is crime against humanity to let the Rohingya to be killed, slaughtered, raped, and deprived of their human right. We need to act now. If we don't, we need to act now. If we don't wish to see another Holocaust on our hands. You can see here, of course, we have what we can do from here. From here, many things which we have said is very important. Very important. We have many good leaders. I met them from the Buddhists. We have to talk to them. We have to lobby the government, our government. We have to lobby the president. We have to lobby the Buddhists. We have to do anything we can. Petition to UN. These are very important. If we don't do that, what is different between us and them? We are human. We're all human. And the world is for us. Human, one human race. Does not matter color, religion, ethnic, anything. Important is we are at the first human. Let's help each other and let's stop the genocide. Thank you very much for this.
So I'd like to introduce Reverend Dr. Marcus Bieber, who is, can I just say, he's written over 40 books. He's an interfaith scholar and a long-time interfaith proponent. He's the co-chair of the World Congress of Faiths, of which he's been together for 20, 30 years, and he's now totally embarrassed. Please welcome.
Well, Robin, thank you, and Margaret, and it's good to be here with you all. But I think Holocaust Remembrance Day is always a difficult day. Most of all, of course, for those whose loved ones were murdered and survivors who are still haunted by their nightmares. And I hope our remembrance may be of some comfort to them. But of course we remember all the victims of so many genocides and massacres that were occurring. And perhaps we could just sort of start by a minute's silence as to share in that remembrance, and that our thoughts and sympathy may spread across the world. If I concentrate in what I say on the Holocaust, partly because I've spent time with Christian-Jewish relations, particularly as director of CCJ, but I think what I hope I'm saying will be relevant to so many other tragedies, past and sadly present. My good friend Rabbi Hugo Gryn, who some of you may remember took part regularly on Moral Maze, was taken to Auschwitz as a teenager. And he said people sometimes asked him, where was God? And his answer was, where was humanity? And in fact, it was in the camps that he found God, or perhaps he'd rather say God found him. And I'm going to read what he wrote in his autobiography. On that day in 1944, I was at my place of work. Like many others, I fasted. This is Day of Atonement, 1944. Like many others, I fasted and cleared a little hiding place for myself amongst a stack of insulation board. I spent most of the usual working day there, not even emerging for the thin soup given us at midday. I tried to remember as many prayers as I could and recited them, even singing the Kol Nidre, asking God's forgivenesses for promises made and not kept. But eventually, I dissolved in crying. I must have sobbed for hours. Never before or since have I cried with such intensity. And then I seem to be granted a curious inner peace, something that is still with me. I believe God was also crying. And I understood a bit about the revelation that is implicit in Auschwitz. It is about man and his idols. God, the God of Abraham, could not abandon me. Only I could abandon God. And like a lot of more Christian, Jewish and other writers, I find it more helpful to picture a God who weeps with us rather than to talk of an all-powerful God who seems to have done nothing. And when there were pictures of the Vietnamese boat people, it was very much in the news, the Asian theologian Ken Song Song wrote, I'm going to read from his book, The Compassionate God, but you can apply it just as much today to the pictures of the children in the boats coming across from Turkey to Greece, in the Mediterranean, and so many Burma, or other parts of the world, or those who would like to get to Australia. He says, God's face could be seen in the suffering of the Indo-Chinese people, in the disfigured bodies of the children fallen victim to hunger and bullets. Someone must have seen God disfigured with horror. Through their pain, God pleads with the conscience of humanity. And I think my own picture of God as suffering love has changed both my attitude to war over the years, so I've been committed to non-violence, and it's convinced me that the penal policy should be about reform rather than revenge. But perhaps above all, it is the sense that God has put into our hands the future, and it's a terrifying responsibility. And I think our picture of God matters. I mean, people tend to dismiss theology. But let me read these words in a report in the press 3-4 days ago. After prayers, the traders of Bel al-Tob market in Iraq's second city, Mosul, formed a crowd around 9 men lying on the street. A bulldozer approached and slowly ran over the prisoners, crushing them. To what God had those prayers been offered? Certainly not to Allah, the most gracious and most merciful, to quote from the opening verse of the Quran. And I could give examples from so many different religious traditions. So I think with shame of the Christian record of anti-Jewish teaching. And I remember one rabbi said to me, in the 90s, we prayed for the revival of religion. And now many of us wish we hadn't. In a sense, the extremism of some of the revival. But what I really wanted to do was focus on Hugo Grinn's questions. Where was humanity? And we could take this in several senses. First of all, why did the world not prevent the Holocaust or other horrifying genocides? How did it that the Nazis came to power? Neither the League of Nations, nor the press, nor the legal system, nor public opinion, nor the churches have the strength to stop them. And of course, as a Christian, I'm ashamed of the centuries of anti-Jewish teaching. And I know that many people did sacrifice their lives to defeat Nazism. So one of the questions, and it will remain a question, how do we respond to genocide? I mean, military action in Libya, even if it was well-intentioned, has precipitated more violence. And even those who back airstrikes against ISIS know that by themselves they cannot resolve the problem. So what do we want? And I think we need urgently to strengthen the United Nations and international law. And it seems to me people of faith and goodwill have a responsibility, an urgent responsibility, to try to shape public opinion so that governments take their international responsibilities seriously. And then, of course, there's the need for humanitarian help. And there will be for a long time. Part of humanity is helping the refugees, but much more help is needed. And I wish the British country would respond, perhaps as the days of kinder transport and the way really being open. And I was thinking on the way up, there must be a lot of spare bedrooms at Chequers, which I would love to see opened up to something. But that was probably not possible. But I must say, which is one thing I am pleased of, when the vicarage was empty where we were at the time of the Ugandan refugees, we actually offered that as a house to them, and they were wonderful, wonderful people. We learned so much from them. Families have been torn apart, neighbours have turned on each other, and from the nightmares of a possible future. And so I believe it is the call for religions of the world, to work far more closely together in trying to provide help and healing. And I remember Margot Sananda, the very beautiful leader of the Cambodian Buddhists, telling his fellow monks during the Pol Pot regime to join the hundreds who had fled the country. The refugee camps, he said, must now be our temples and our monasteries. And it's a question, I think, to each faith community how we use our resources. But the question, where was humanity, is a question I think each of us has to look into our own hearts. Would we have risked our lives and the lives of our families to protect the vulnerable? Would we have given in to the pressures to support the Nazis, or at least have kept silent? Would we, in different circumstances, have been perpetrators? And I don't know if any of us dare answer. And the Vietnamese spiritual teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, recognised that potential for good and evil in every human heart. Again, he's writing at the time of the Vietnamese boat people. I am a 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. And I am a pirate, my heart yet not capable of seeing and loving, that identification with others. And what I always find difficult is that both the perpetrators and the rescuers were ordinary people. It's easy, in one sense, easier for us to demonise the perpetrators, but we must know within our own hearts that the dangers. The SS officers, we know, cared for their families. Rescuers said they did nothing special. And I gather in the camps regularly, every day, every Sunday, the notice of the church services were announced for those who were working there. So is that. And then the rescuers said they did nothing special. And there were probably many more rescuers than those whose names have been recorded. And it seems that few of the rescuers had a particular concern for Jews, for Jewish people. But they said again and again they did nothing special. I want to listen to the words of two of them. I come from nationalist circles, often charged with anti-Semitism. Why did I save Jewish children? Because they were children, because they were people. I would save any person in danger of death, and a child, every child, is particularly dear to me. That is why my Catholic religion orders me to do. A persecuted Jew somehow stopped being a Jew and became simply a person, a woman or man in child of need or help. That's the moving to our humanity. And then there's another. My family was Dutch and Christian. Even when we were quite young, my parents always encouraged us, my sisters and me, to read the Bible and to believe that love was the aim of our lives. My mother and father taught us that Moses got the instruction from God that tells us to love our neighbours as ourselves. And we also know from the Bible that Jesus Christ was himself a Jew, had said the greatest commandment was to love your neighbour and yourself. Both at home and at school, our education was directed toward love, compassion, and service of others. And thinking about that, how would we describe our educational system? It seems so often geared to exams and careers, and to go back to that basic teaching. Our education was directed toward love, compassion, and service of others. And I don't know how much it's been substantiated, but there was some studies of the abusers and the survivors, and it reflected on their upbringing. But those who were rescuers would nearly always say they came from a loving home. There was never any physical violence, and it just was natural to relate and care for others. In the studies of some of the SS officers, they came from abusive homes where violence was common. And so much it seems to be we need to go back to childhood and the whole emphasis on the spiritual upraising of people and values. Because really, if we look at what is happening, almost everything that is happening needs to be challenged. Where was God? Where was humanity? As I say, these are questions, I think, which each of us have to ask and answer for ourselves. And God grant that in doing so, we contribute to the healing of the world, to Tikkun Olam. But I want to end with words of encouragement. These are from Abbe Foxman, who was a survivor. And he wrote that for 50 years, we who survived bore witness to the evil, the brutality, the bestiality. But now it is time also to bear witness to the goodness. For each survivor is a living proof that even in the hell called the Holocaust, there was goodness, there was kindness, there was love and compassion. And so I think we must never give up hope that the world can be changed, and it is wonderful that so many people are here, so many people in other parts of the country in different ways are remembering and looking forward. It is a message that beyond the suffering there is hope, but it is a challenge to each of us. Thank you for listening.
I'd like to just make an award to the leader of the United Human Peace Party, which is President Christian Malanga, for leading this group and also instituting this series of training of good governance, but he himself also participating, also very much encouraging. I remember when I was giving some of the principles, sometimes he thought I was going over some of it too quick.
Again, round of applause.
Well, I wasn't prepared for this. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you, Pierre, for everything, and thank you, the Mall of Congo. Can y'all hear me? Yes. Well, I'm not a good writer, but when I was sitting here, I just gathered certain words, to put around so I can share it to you today. First, before I start, I'd like us to have a round of applause to our women, our mothers. Last night, I was talking to my wife on the phone. Speaking to my wife, I asked my wife a question. And that question was, I asked my wife, I say, why do I cry when I think of home? Why do I cry when I think of home? What is it about seeing our mothers and sisters cowering and afraid in the corner? Tears streaming their eyes where no one can see them. I remember the time I was in the Congo. I seen a woman. You can see the horror in her face when they heard a truck coming. Just the sound of a truck. You can see them scared. From that sound, it's accompanied by whooping and hollering from far away. It is a memory no child shall have, but millions where I come from have that. It is what's happening daily, day and night in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It matter not, that's something that I put down. How can we acknowledge such atrocity without committing ourselves of stopping it? Especially this generation. How can we, the men, the fathers, the brothers, the uncles, the young and old, protect them and the future of our nation? I, Christian Malanga. First, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Christian Malanga. Hi, guys. I, Christian Malanga, the president of the United Congolese Party, that unity, will ensure that our children will not have such legacy. We have to put a stop on it.
Yes.
I, Christian Malanga, understand all too well that in order for our beautiful nation, Congo, to be abundant and free, we have to address the outrage in our nations today. I stand against the current regime in Kinshasa, which turns the blind eyes to what happens in villages, to our women throughout our beautiful country, and threaten the future of our nation. My brothers and sisters, my main focus, I want to focus on my brothers. I want to tell you that women are essential to the universe.
Yes.
And our mankind, and our being as mankind, I can say. They are the precious givers of life to all men walking the face of the earth. Their values to the earth is immeasurable. I had a discussion with Mr. Ricky in the parliament, and we're discussing about women. I told him that women, they add a beauty to our world that was especially divinely given to them, even in the time of war. That's why today I was listening to Mama Charlotte to see when she was saying that our women in the country, they've been raped. They went through so much, but they still keep a smile in their face. I'm not here to cry for our women. No, they're stronger than that. They're our mother. They don't say that to measure the wealth of a nation, you see the way they treat their women. And this new generation, we are looking to change that. That's why I will say we have come of age, Africa. Humanity, we have come of age. The time is upon us to determine the course of our future and our children's future.
Yes.
And in that is to empower our women.
Yes.
Congo War has claimed more lives than any other conflict since the end of World War II. And the funny thing is that yet has received no attention outside Central Africa. That's the sad part. That's the sad part. An estimated 35% of Congolese women in the Congo War who were raped were infected with HIV. What I can say to distinguish women mistreatment is the general lack of education amongst men about the rights of women in a time of peace and war. The fact that rape survivors are breaking the silence around the horrific sexual violence endemic in the Democratic Republic of Congo is crucial for building peace and stability in the country. But without involving Congolese men, it will be difficult to address the problem successfully. Let's talk of our mother. Let's think of this. I learned something here at UPF. I took some classes of good governance. I believe that when a family is secure, when a mother is secure, a nation can be secure.
Yes.
They say when you educate a woman, you educate the nation.
Amen.
All we see is the problem in our country, but how did it start? Let's troubleshoot that. They say Congolese women, they've been victims in a rape never seen before. Women are unable to fulfill their need of the day because they're afraid of their safety. 98% of our economy in the country is based, it's a female-based economy. Yeah. They farm, they give birth to us painfully, 9 months. But when it comes in decision-making of the country, we don't involve them. Man, let's think about that. Is that fair?
No. Yes.
I'm here to put my arms and strength around you all, women, mothers. Help you to remember your uniqueness, the very things that make each one of you special. My commitment to the feminine is to remind you that you are divine, and together in balance and harmony, we all can merge. And without question, create a wonderful life, learning from the mistakes made, and issue this horror are forever behind us. That's for the women of Congo. They say a journey of 1,000 miles. It starts with one step.
Yes.
And today, I'm asking that let's start one step in the Congo. I want my mothers to stop crying. Let's empower them.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Let's empower women.
Yes.
A stressful wife or woman. Just imagine a wife. I'm a father of 6 children. Just imagine if a woman, she's pregnant and stressed. How would that kid come out? A stressed woman creates a stressed society. Because that child has to go to society. He has to mingle with many out there. When we empower our women, we empower our society. Let us all look toward a brighter tomorrow, my brothers. We cannot do it without the power of women safely united. In addition to my committing to this movement of empowering women, I'll make it, I forgot to tell you guys, directed from myself. From all the members of my party, they decided for me to run for presidency for this year. And I accepted it. In addition to my commitment to this issue, I will make it my mission to bring to justice all those who have participated in such atrocity, no matter the station in society. The men who have used rape as a mechanism of power and war, I will initiate an institute policy in my government which ensure the safety of all our women, no matter where they are living. And I send a clarion call to all international organizations as UPF and many others out there who have as their mission to empower the women and children to join me and join us in this new nation which we're trying to put in the heart of Africa. I'm not going to get too religious on this, but I want to be behind this. I want to be close to you. What I like to say is this. There's this word of encouragement and there's this word of empowerment. I am a Bantu. As Bantu, we all say this. Before I leave you, I want to leave you with this one word. I want to leave you with this one word. When you go home today, you look at your mother, you look at your loved one. I want to leave you with this word. We say, Ubuntu. Let's all say Ubuntu.
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 Ubuntu meaning, I'm living in this word Ubuntu. I am because you are.
Amen.
I am because you are. I am happy because my mother's happy. Ubuntu, I am because you are. Thank you so much.
And just within ourselves, look at ourselves in humility and say, you know, we're not perfect, and we need to pick ourselves up to look to God's love and God's ideal and try again, and to make a difference and to make this world better. And that should be our life's passion. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, and please stay and talk to each other. Thank you so much for coming.